morning, everyone. My name's Alex Wiggins, and I'm honored to be your CEO of the New Orleans Regional Transit Authority. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our 14th annual Hurricane Preparedness event. And thank you again for your flexibility. We had initially planned to conduct this meeting in person, but although we are tired of COVID, COVID's not done with us. So just out of an abundance of caution, we opted to move to a virtual setting just to keep everyone safe. The RTA, in partnership with our partners at the City of New Orleans, we are ready. We are ready to respond to whatever Mother Nature throws our way. I could not be more pleased as a leader of the performance of our staff over the years. I think it's fair to say the last several years, we've had to deal with significant weather events, and the team has performed well. And of course, our collaboration with the City of New Orleans has been fantastic. So lots of good information for you coming your way today. Lots of good information for us to share. And at this point, I'm honored to introduce one of the members of the RTA's Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Mark Raymond has been on our board for several years now, and is really key in leading our preparedness, specifically for the community that we work with that's mobility impaired. So with that, Commissioner Mark Raymond, the mic is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. Each year, the RTA and other city agencies convene to ensure that our riders and the riding public, primarily those with senior and ADA needs, learn about evacuation processes and policies. I think Ida was a real challenge for everyone last year, and adapting to this new climate of stronger hurricanes that we expect to get consistently is going to be a challenge for years to come. With that, I think there were a lot of things that we did well last year with in putting cooling stations in place, with having 42 cooling buses at neighborhood centers, and also RTA participating with senior evacuations from facilities. So I'm really looking forward to this meeting and hearing all the information from all the different city agencies. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. He's a native New Orleanian and someone who has had a great understanding of the city as well as the weather. He spent a large part of his career tracking weather across the Pacific and Indian Oceans, holding a degree in meteorology from the University of St. Thomas in Houston, Texas, and a master's degree from the United States Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. Mr. Damon Singleton, I'm gonna hand it off to you, sir.
Hey, well, thanks a lot. Here we go again. Hurricane season is just about upon us. The actual start date isn't until the 1st of June, but if you've been around the last few years, you know that it's possible for us to see some type of tropical systems even before the season starts. And we've seen a little bit of that over the last couple of years. Not seeing anything like that right now, although for the last couple of days I've been talking about the Central American gyra and the possibility of that spreading or moving in a northerly direction towards the Gulf of Mexico. Over the last couple of days, that has changed, which is good news. But it's not impossible that we'll be talking about something developing over the next couple of weeks. So, you know, we've said and you probably heard on TV or radio that we're expecting another active season. You know, the average number of named storms a season is 14. This year, we're expecting 19 storms, and that number comes from the folks at Colorado State University. You know, on average season, 7 hurricanes are what we're expecting. This season, we're expecting 9. On an average season, 3 major hurricanes, major category 3 or above. And this season, we're expecting 4. The National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, their numbers are going to be coming out next week, I think. And I suspect that they're going to have some similar, if not greater numbers. And it's not impossible that we'll see the averages go up over time and the number of storms that form and develop over time, continue to increase and possibly even get pretty intense. Especially if as a nation and as a community of nations, if we don't address climate change, I think the impact on hurricane season will be pretty significant. The number of storms doesn't really mean a lot. It's probably more of a number for government to tell government to prepare for. A lot of storms, or prepare for an average number of storms, to prepare for a low number of storms. For us here in Southeast Louisiana, we could have an active season with 25 storms expected and not get hit by one, or we can have an inactive season forecasted and get hit by Hurricane Ida. So for the average person, those numbers don't mean anything. For government, it means a lot. So we're thinking that we've got a good chance, and when I say good chance, I'm talking 30 to 40% chance of seeing a hurricane develop in the Gulf of Mexico that may be a threat to parts of Southeast Louisiana. There is a better chance, 50 to 60% chance of seeing a named storm, a tropical storm, develop and be a threat to some part of Southeast Louisiana this season. And there is there's a low chance, actually, in terms of Category 3 hurricanes, major hurricanes, our chance of seeing one of those again this season is probably around 10 to 15%, which sounds low, but it's in terms of that type of storm hitting our area, it's actually a pretty significant number. So I think the areas that are most likely to see some type of activity are probably St. Bernard and Plaquemines parishes, and possibly areas along the Mississippi Gulf Coast as well. One of the factors that is significant for us here in Southeast Louisiana and all the Gulf Coast states is the water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico. And if you've been online or even on social media, you've probably seen a lot of chatter about the water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf Loop, or what is called the Gulf Loop. And both of those are pretty significant already this year. The Gulf of Mexico is always warm, especially during the summer months. That's not an unusual thing. It's probably a couple of degrees higher at this point than what we would ordinarily expect to see. We've got that loop that is in effect, that's bringing lots of warm water from the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico and then feeding it out through the Florida Straits and then into the Gulf Stream as well. So water temperatures are kind of anywhere from 84 to 87 degrees in the Gulf of Mexico right now. And for a hurricane to form, you just need 80-degree water. And, if the water is 78 or 79 degrees, that's it's not impossible for some type of system to form with that type of, with those type of water temperatures. Problem for us is that there's no El Nino in place this year, so no significant wind shear expected. And, that's kind of one of the things that we count on every year to either cut, kind of tear storms apart or prevent them from becoming anything really significant as they move across the Gulf of Mexico. So that's not in place this year, and we're not expecting it to develop all season long. The water temperatures are very high. I think probably our most significant thing, what's been pretty significant for the last couple of years, is the Sahara dust. And we're seeing even now, and the forecast for Sahara dust over the next week is pretty significant. A good amount of dust moving from the west coast of Africa all the way over through the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. So whenever that is significant, that is a good thing for us in terms of keeping storms from either developing or strengthening. So, when we talk about, as we enter hurricane season and we talk about these storms, and you see us on the air either telling you about a hurricane, a tropical storm watch or warning, or a hurricane watch or warning, that terminology means pretty significant things. If you hear tropical storm watch or hurricane watch, that means those tropical storm conditions or hurricane conditions are possible in the watch area, Southeast Louisiana, probably in about the 48 to 36 hours. If you hear warning, a tropical storm warning or hurricane warning, that means those conditions, tropical storm or hurricane conditions, are expected in the warning area of Southeast Louisiana. And that's usually issued about 36 hours in advance of those type of conditions. So 48 hours, 36 hours. Tropical storm wind speeds up to about 73 miles per hour, hurricane wind speed 74 miles per hour and above. I was down in Duloc in an area called Bobtown in Terrebonne Parish a few days ago, doing some taping for our hurricane special. And the one significant thing that we saw in that area is one of the significant things that we saw in the area is the number of trailers, FEMA trailers and other trailers all throughout that entire region. A lot of folks that got a lot of damage from Ida still living in those trailers. If there is the threat of a tropical storm, even while I can't make that call, those people and other people around Southeast Louisiana should be thinking about getting out of that type of housing and into something more sturdy, or even out of Southeast Louisiana if you need to. Trailers don't do well in tropical storms or in hurricanes. So if those are the conditions that you're in, then if there is a threat of a tropical system, whether that be a hurricane or a tropical storm, you should probably be thinking about leaving that area and making sure that you're in some place that is safer. So we here at Channel 6, we've already, in all of our newscasts, you'll probably see a meteorologist making reference to the conditions across the Atlantic Basin almost every day. I did it several times this morning. Devin Lucy has been kind of in for Margaret. He's done it as well. And even Margaret is back now, and she was talking about the tropics last night, even though there's nothing in the tropics. We know that people get on edge around this time, and especially when hurricane season starts. And so we try to keep you as up to date on anything that develops or anything that could become a threat to us here in Southeast Louisiana, or the United States for that matter. So this is always a place that you can go for the latest information. We keep our app active as well. You can always find out information on our weather app for WDSU and any other stations as well. Or you can get information from the National Hurricane Center via social media, and all of the meteorologists here are on social media as well. So we always send information out that way, just like the Hurricane Center does. We are hoping for an inactive season for us here in Southeast Louisiana. There's a very good chance we can see some tropical activity here once again this season. Whether that is just a tropical storm or a Category 3 hurricane, I can't tell you right now. I can tell you that the conditions in the Gulf of Mexico, minus the Sahara dust, are optimal conditions for something significant to develop and to have an impact on the Gulf Coast states. So it is going to be very important that everyone is aware of what is going on in the Gulf of Mexico and across the Atlantic Basin, and that you do what you can now to prepare yourself for whatever may happen, whatever government or the mayor decides to do in terms of evacuating the city or evacuating Southeast Louisiana if that becomes necessary. So, and I don't want to scare anybody. I'm hoping, especially if you are in housing that is not optimal for this type of weather, that you are ready to go on a moment's notice. Although I'm sure you will have more than a moment's notice to go if you need to go. I think that about covers it all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Singleton. I appreciate it. My name is Craig Toomey. I'm the Director of Emergency Management at the RTA. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for everyone for participating. I'd also like to introduce Natasha Riley from the RTA. She's our Customer Experience Manager. She runs our Customer Service Center here at the RTA. And also introduce Billy Johnson. She's our Director of Mobility and Alternative Modes at the RTA. They both have a pretty major role when we activate for a hurricane with receiving your phone calls for help with transportation and also doing the actual transportation. So they're both on the call here as well. So I wanted to briefly go through the RTA's Hurricane Preparedness Plan. And then we'll go into a presentation from Mr. Colin Honor, who's our Director of the New Orleans Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness. So I don't know if we want to bring this slide up, bring the slides up or not. Okay, great. So next slide, please. So we have a very strong partnership with NOSEP. We basically provide emergency transportation services when we have to evacuate the city, both pre or post storm as well. I know we did some evacuations as well post Ida. So we have a very strong partnership with them. We really primarily support the city's assisted evacuation program, which is their program, which details outlines the details for how we provide emergency transportation. Next slide. So this is just I'm not going to go through all the phases with you, but basically we have a very structured approach to how we monitor hurricanes and how we have different phases for our emergency preparedness here at the RTA. So we're in phase one now, where we're doing a lot of preseason preparedness. We're doing a lot of training. We're doing a lot of coordination and plan review, plan updates. We're updating our official agreements with the partnerships with the city and other stakeholders in the area. So we spent a lot of time preparing for storms prior to storm season starting. The next two phases are when the storm's actually identified in the Gulf, at least 96 hours out before potential landfall in New Orleans. We're in phase one or phase two. And that phase, really, the RTA is going to be activating an incident command structure, basically an emergency structure. It'll change its organization to be able to better respond and support assisting with should the order be given to evacuate the city to provide those emergency transportation services. The next two phases, phase three is more as we go through each phase, it's more incremental. As we get closer to where the storm's actually making landfall, once we've got everyone safely evacuated from the city, we start to shut down service. We start to relocate our buses and our people too out of harm's way. Should the storm be a category 4 or greater, we plan to what's called COOP, basically move our operations outside of the city. Depending on where the storm is going to hit, we might pick one of 3 locations in kind of a radius around New Orleans to relocate our operations. But we're going to keep comms, obviously, and keep tabs on how our infrastructure is being either damaged or affected by the storm. And we'll shelter in place or we'll COOP depending on the storm severity. Meanwhile, we're doing accountability over all of our personnel, et cetera. And then the last phase, when the storm's actually made landfall, is we're returning back to the city, assessing damage along with the city, partnering with the city as well, looking for cleaning up storm debris, et cetera, restoring our lines. Any calls coming in for emergency transportation post storm, we would respond to that as well. So we're plugging right back in as soon as the storm's over and returning back to the city. So basically, I wanted to show you in a nutshell that we have a very structured approach for how we manage hurricane season. Next slides, please. So you'll see here, and you might have already seen this before. We have specific evacu spots. We have senior evacu spots and general population evacu spots. So should the mayor give the order to evacuate, mandatory evacuation, we'll immediately activate once that order is given. Immediately activate our plans to start mobilizing all of our resources to start picking up folks from senior evacu spots and general population evacu spots to take them to the Smoothie King Center to get them to safety. So that's finding your spot is critical, knowing where you need to go. This is a good map for you. It's also online as well. And we'll also be, we're planning on doing a roadshow too as well to come out to meet in person at the senior centers and deliver some materials to you. sometime in June. So this is a map of where the locations are. On the right there, you also see if you have any questions about transporting your animals, your pets, service animals are absolutely okay. As long as they're in a carrier, you can bring them with you. We also will provide pet transportation. We also are looking at designating larger buses, 2 of them, to transport larger pets. We're working with the city on that as well. So we're also keeping in mind any animal or any pets you might have to being able to evacuate them as well as yourself. So next slide, please. So I can't stress enough, and I'm sure you've heard it over and over again, preparing yourself for hurricane season. I want a really good website reference or resource you can go to do so is National Weather Service Hurricane Preparedness website. They've got all kinds of templates and plans you can go through to kind of figure out what supplies you might need, how you can help your neighbors, how you can write a plan, how you can strengthen the location that you're at. It's a really good website, so I highly recommend if you have an opportunity to go to that site to look in there. Also, we can't, and you're going to hear a presentation too later today. We really like you to register for Smart 911. It's the city's new system that's going to be, I believe, a more of a graphical, more robust system than we have for the NOLAready.gov system as well right now. But you'll hear more about that later today. And then also keep your information up to date with us, with the RTA. If you use RTA services for paratransit, please contact us. Keep your information up to date, because during a hurricane, we're going to be comparing our database of folks that use our services with the city's database for a special registry and making sure and we're doing that now. We're going to start comparing that data, that information. So we're all on the same page. We know where you are. We know what services you need. We know your status. So please call in. If you call those numbers, you can give us update your information. If it changes, please update your information as well. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Colin Arnold. Mr. Colin Arnold is the director of the New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. And Colin's going to give us a brief overview of NOSEP and their hurricane preparations.
Thanks, Craig. Really appreciate it, Alex. As always, I can't really stress how big of a partner RTA is for us. I mean, I would say that out of all of the agencies, particularly over the last 2 hurricane seasons, that we've been able to, the partnership that we've created with RTA is just crucial for folks that have transportation issues, and so we obviously want to continue that. Damon, thanks a lot for the presentation, and I maybe riff a little bit off of what he said. Don't pay attention to one model. What we saw last week, get your weather from reputable sources. The internet has a lot of different information out there. Some of it's good, and some of it maybe is not so good. And when you go to and you hear Damon doing his weather analysis and weather forecasting on WDSU, as an example, that is what I would consider a very reputable source. And I will say that Craig and I are both Coast Guard veterans. Damon is a Navy veteran, so we're well represented in the sea services today, which is great to see. If possible, I'd like to see my slides. Great, thank you. So I'm the director of the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness here at City Hall. We're the city's crisis and consequence management department. We really coordinate resources and information within all of our city departments: public safety, infrastructure, human services, and administration. And we put that information together and try and give the mayor the best information possible when it comes to these types of events like hurricanes, tropical systems, and really any type of what we call all hazards event. So that could be anything from a hurricane to a festival, quite frankly, special events. And we're having a little bit of a hiccup with COVID right now, but I think we're on the right track. We've had some real high profile special events over the last, over the last 6 months. And everybody is kind of clamoring to get back to what we do in the city, which is hosting world-class events and really providing that for our residents and for our visitors. And so, that idea of being able to provide necessary services during any type of situation is what we're about and why we're here today. Next slide. I see someone in my office is getting cute with the graphics. Wonderful. So a couple of the things. Ida was a real, I think, a game changer for us. But I think we can all look at storms in the past, and we can see that not just only over the past few years, but really what we're seeing over the past decade is that storms and longer is that storms that form in the Gulf, in the Caribbean, and around the Yucatan Peninsula are very much very unpredictable. We look at our memory of Katrina, Gustav, and if we go further back to Betsy, we see storms that formed more out towards the Atlantic, had a little more time to watch and look at, and we've kind of built plans based off of those conditions, when really what we have to do now and what we've been doing is looking more at these rapidly forming, I should say quick forming, rapidly intensifying storms that are occurring in the Gulf, particularly in the later part of the season when that water's warmer and when the conditions are really prime, talking about August through probably October, when they're really prime heat-wise to create an issue for us in New Orleans. They develop quickly, they intensify very quickly, and we have to adapt to that. And so one of the things we're doing that is, I think, going to really benefit the public is we've contracted with a service called WeatherStem. There's going to be a lot more about this in the coming weeks because we're getting to the point now with the project where it's being finalized and finished. We've contracted to install 20 very accurate weather stations around the city that will give real-time, multiple data points of real-time weather around the city. And what we've done is essentially created what's called a mesonet, which is a very tight and geographically focused system of weather stations around the city, so we can have a true picture of what the weather is, not only just in the city, but neighborhood by neighborhood. And so we're very excited about the prospect of this. All of this information will be public facing. We're sharing it obviously with the National Weather Service. We're sharing it with the Sewerage and Water Board. This will enhance their ability to look at flooding and the conditions that occur when heavy amounts of rainfall, not just from a hurricane, but from any type of tropical system, or any type of afternoon weather event, which we are so prone to see here in the city, can occur. And they can adapt and adjust those resources because we know that there's always issues with power and pumps and different things. They can adapt those resources to where they're needed most. So we're really excited about that. We're excited to share that with our weather partners in the media as well. And I think that they'll be very impressed and find this very useful. All of these stations also have webcams attached to them that face the horizon. They're fixed cameras. They don't show anything other than the weather. And so all of this will be public facing, and we're going to put this on the NOLA Ready website. We're really excited about that. Another project that we're really excited about is enhancing backup power generation capacity at city-owned properties. So after Ida, which we realized was, every storm teaches us something different, right? Ida was the storm of the worst power situation I think that the city and the region has ever faced. To have all 8 transmission lines severed and to have the city completely dark had never happened before. And so we have realized that and want to build off of what we were able to do during Ida with those rec centers, with those city cooling centers that we set up around the city. We want more of the ability to do that. And we also want the ability to be able to possibly shelter if we have to, particularly post-storm. Pre-storm, we're still saying that the safest you can be for a major hurricane, and I'm talking about a Category 3, particularly 4 or 5 hurricane, is to evacuate. And so we've talked a little bit about the city-assisted evacuation. I'm going to go into that. That all still exists. The issue is timeline. We're just not seeing that, and so we're adapting with that. But this partnership that we've created with Entergy New Orleans, excuse me, this partnership with Entergy New Orleans is really groundbreaking for us. By mid-July, we will have the capacity to power 15 city facilities rather than 8, rec centers and libraries. Not all of the libraries, but most of the rec centers and several libraries geographically around the city. We're constantly looking at other other facilities that we can do this with. But this initial start, I think, is really important. 15 facilities will have the equipment, the transfer switching equipment, and the necessary gas lines to actually run natural gas powered generators at these facilities, which essentially makes them, they'll run 24/7 without the need to refuel them with diesel, which is, diesel is as we all know from Ida, gasoline, diesel, fuel in that regard is a very difficult commodity to get and to get around. And so to have this is, I think, a real game changer. And something I'm also extremely excited about is that in addition to those 15 city-owned facilities, Entergy is also going to put this power generation capacity on the entire L'Oreal Convention Center. And this is a first. So it's a game changer, quite frankly. We can leverage that facility to do a lot of things, particularly with vulnerable populations in the city, the elderly, those that have medical issues, those that have mobility issues. We're going to be able to do more for them in the face of a storm like Ida, that is or like Harvey or like Michael over the past couple of years, that are these, quick forming, rapidly intensifying storms. You're going to find out where to go and what to do at that time. There's a lot of things, you can't predict right now. I can't just say this will be a facility that we'll use or this other facility will be a facility that we'll use, because storms are unpredictable. And so we have to look at what's on the ground and where the storm's going, and after the storm passes, where it went, and make our decisions based on that. But I think that through communicating in forums like this and in forums that I'll talk about towards the end of my presentation, you'll be able to get the information that you need when you need it to make those decisions that you need to make. In conjunction with those additional rec centers being brought online with that power capacity, we have trained NORD staff, over 60 of them so far, with shelter setup and management. And this is huge because we always have issues with personnel, finding the proper amount of people that we need to assist us. And NORD and their CEO, Larry Barabino, has really stepped up to the plate like RTA did years ago and has continued to help us. NORD is now becoming one of those really trusted partners with us in order to make our residents safer. And that's what's happening. So NORD's going to be able to assist us with doing cooling centers and cooling shelters if we need to. And also if we have the need to shelter citizens and residents of the city, we're going to use that capacity from NORD to help. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, our city assisted evacuation, everything remains the same with the pre-storm evacuation plan. We're still using Smoothie King Center. RTA is still a huge partner in that. We're still going to, if we have the time, set up that ability to move people out of harm's way prior to the storm. But what we're developing is contingency plans to address vulnerable populations should we have less of a timeline. If we are talking about 48 hours, 36 hours, we need to have an ability to move the most vulnerable in our population either pre-storm or immediately after the storm. And that's what we've been working on. Thanks to the city council, we have been able to advertise, and we're in the process of hiring a mass care coordinator for my office and also a disaster accessibility coordinator. That disaster accessibility coordinator is going to work with all of the stakeholders. RTA will be critical in that. The city's office of ADA office will be critical in that. How do we make our plans and what we want to do more accessible for those that have ADA mobility type issues, language access issues? That's really crucial, and we're seeing around the country that this has become more of an issue. We saw during Ida. I think it's quite clear the most vulnerable. I think our seniors are incredibly vulnerable, particularly to heat-related issues when we have longer-term power problems. And we want to take these positions and work with everybody in our office to try and make sure that we're doing everything that we can, particularly for those vulnerable populations. We've worked with the health department and the council and the administration on the senior living facilities ordinance. I want to be clear. We have 16 nursing homes, assisted living facilities in Orleans Parish that are licensed by the state. They're heavily regulated. We review their plans. The state reviews their plans. We know we had an issue last year in Tangipahoa Parish with 2 facilities out of, I believe, 6 in the state that decided, all by the same owner, who decided to evacuate to a place in Tangipahoa Parish that was not up to standards. And there was some weather issues there that they experienced that made it even worse, exacerbated probably what was a bad situation. We want to make sure that those things are and those issues are addressed. We believe we're doing that with the nursing care facilities. What is different is that we have, I believe the list is up to around 70 senior apartment facilities in this city. And these have no expectation or regulation of care by the state like nursing homes do. So we're talking about totally different types of facilities. We experienced fatalities during Ida in those facilities, mostly due to heat and because of the power outage. We don't want to see that happen again. And so we have addressed a local ordinance here with the city. We are in communication with these facilities. We've identified them. We are assessing their plans. We're assessing their capacity to have generator power. We are putting them on notice that their management can't just leave. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to take people's money to live in your facility, especially when they're elderly and they may have medical or mobility issues, you need to have a plan to deal with those people and to assist them when we have a storm like Ida. And so we're working very closely with the health department to enforce that and to make sure that all of the people that have these facilities understand that. Evacuation is the safest method to stay safe. We know that for a major storm, but we shelter in place for a lot of storms. So the fact of the matter is you don't have to evacuate. You have that right. I think you have to make the best decision for yourself. I do think that evacuating for a major storm, as I've said multiple times, is the safest thing to do. But if there's a way, and there will be a way, that we can reach out to these independent, these senior apartment facilities and get them the supplies they need and check on them, we can get through these types of incidents, particularly the Ida type scenario where you have a power outage over a couple of days or up to a week to 10 days, where you have that situation. We can move in and we can help. And that's what we want to do. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, with those weather stations right now, we're actually up to 16 sites out of 20. As you can see, and what I really want to point out is we've put these all on very critical facilities that have backup power permanently installed on the buildings. So the stations are Category 5 hurricane related, or Category 5 hurricane built to that standard. They're also powered by solar power and by battery backup. But the good thing about where we're installing them is these buildings and what we saw during Ida did not lose power. And so they have the ability to remain powered and to continue to give us weather throughout the storm event. And another thing I'll point out is that we have intentionally named these by where their neighborhood is. We're a very neighborhood-centric city. We all know what neighborhood we live in, and we want to make sure that when people are able to look at this online, they can find that weather station that's nearest them and get the information from there. Next slide. Again, that backup power generation I was talking about. Well, I point out on this slide, we're finally, thanks to Entergy, able to get Sanchez Center in the lower 9th Ward up online. We attempted years ago to put the power generation on Sanchez. We had an issue with FEMA because of the base flood elevation of that facility. As we all know, it's quite low, and it was not engineeringly engineered and not feasible to put the necessary equipment on the building. FEMA would not approve it. And so Entergy's just said, you know what, we're doing it anyway, in a safe way, but we're putting it on their dime. We're putting this equipment on this facility. So I'm very excited that Sanchez is going to have, the Sanchez Center is going to have the power. As you see, Carrollton Multi-Service Center, Arthur Monday, libraries are getting in there, and we're going to further develop that relationship with our public library system to get them online with power. Probably not a location that we would do a shelter, but certainly a location that we could do a cooling center. We could have internet access. We could recharge devices, do a lot of those things that we did during Ida. We could easily do that at a library. Also, libraries are critical for us, as many of us know, post-storm for disaster resources. SBA comes in, FEMA comes in, and we get a lot of that disaster, post-disaster assistance out of our libraries. Main Library is a very big branch for that. That's our brick and mortar main facility. And then we've got a lot of, as you see here on this slide, a lot of different options. On the right-hand columns there, you see our community centers. Many of these already have those transfer switches, but they're getting upgraded gas lines, meaning, as I said, Entergy can bring in a generator that is powered off natural gas and will essentially run, without being needed to be refueled in the sense that we know about refueling with diesel. So this is pretty exciting for us. We're also trying to identify 2 more sites targeting Little Woods and Ville de l'Est in New Orleans East. Our issue is that we really don't have any city facilities out there that are appropriate for this. We've been working with Councilmember Thomas's office to identify possibly a house of worship or another community known or community related facility that is under private ownership that might be willing to partner with us and Entergy on this to get it done. We do recognize we want some more sites in New Orleans East. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the challenges about trying to do a city-assisted evacuation when you don't have the time, like with Ida. We are working on the concept of what we're calling green, amber, red, which is under a green scenario, we would have the full 96 to 72 hours of time to organize a proper pre-storm city-assisted evacuation, what we talk about every year with our RTA riders and our partners here about getting on an RTA bus, going to the Smoothie King Center and being moved to a shelter outside of the city, I'm sorry. That is the green scenario in this. An amber is maybe we have 36 to 48 hours, I'll use as an example. How many people can we move utilizing RTA, utilizing private contractors with buses? How many people can we move of the vulnerable populations? And I'm talking about our elderly, I'm talking about people with medical and mobility issues, the people that we see many times that very much utilize RTA's great service with paratransit and buses. And so, if we can move people pre-storm, particularly vulnerable populations under the amber scenario, that's what we want to do. And then what we do is we move people into a safe place and then do a very robust post-storm evacuation like we did during Ida, where we have the opportunity potentially utilizing the convention center, potentially utilizing Smoothie King Center to move people further on should the situation dictate it. Flooding would be a major concern. Long-term power outage is a major concern. So that was what we do under the amber. Red is that, worst case scenario with timing. And I'm saying, less than 36 hours, rapidly intensifying storm. I would consider Hurricane Michael in 2018 to be something along these lines, little or no notice. And really that's going to be kind of the more difficult scenario. We're really going to laser focus on the vulnerable populations and the people with medical issues. We're going to make sure that they're safe and then move everybody post-storm. And that is kind of the operating planning that we're doing to address hurricane season. What I would like to just continue to say is evacuation is the best and safest option, and that the city assisted evacuation is a very viable and unique plan that we will continue to operate to the best of our ability in assisting our folks that really need that assistance. I always caveat this with, do your very best to have a plan to get out yourself. And I know that's hard for many people. We anticipate probably 30 to 40,000 people are just not going to be able to do it on their own. That's the number that we plan for. We do know that about 90% of our population self-evacuates. And I would just encourage you to have a plan. Now is the time. You've got some weeks here. We typically are a little bit quieter during the beginning of hurricane season, but by August, have that ability to get out yourself with a family member, with a neighbor, with a friend. It's going to be much more, it's going to be comfortable for you. You're going to feel a lot more comfort being around people that you know. You're going to have a lot more control over where you're going. A lot of people ask, well, I know where I'm going when I'm evacuated. We don't even know. It's wherever the state has sheltering facilities available. And sometimes, quite frankly, that decision is made while the bus is on the road. It's a very dynamic situation. We obviously would love if we could be very clear about how this is going to work with our evacuations, but every hurricane's different. Every situation is different, and we have a broad plan that assists us with this, but when it really comes down to it, decisions are made very quickly, and those decisions can affect our folks that utilize this plan. Next slide, please. With that, I will say, the 17 evacu spots, we've done this RTA meeting over the years, and I have said in the past and continue to say that the evacu spot model, while I think from a communication standpoint and from a reliability and recognizability standpoint is very important. Those statues at those 17 locations are a very clear indication of where you can go to be evacuated. But we're working beyond that model. And thanks to RTA, quite frankly, we've got more options for getting you to the Smoothie King Center, getting you to a cooling center, getting you where you need to go. I will say that the mobile cooling centers were a game changer, beyond the rec centers that we use, having the ability to spread out throughout the city and give people some comfort for a few minutes or a few hours is huge. We want to work with RTA on Wi-Fi, on buses. We want to work with RTA on expanding the transportation options where it isn't just 17 locations. We're at a point now where we believe that with Duncan Plaza and with moving forward with the New Orleans East Transit Hub, we're going to be able to increase the amount of throughput that we can put into the Smoothie King Center, or we can put into an evacuation point or to a cooling center that will increase our ability to move people. And really thanks to RTA and thanks to everyone out there who may be watching this, our partners on this call, for your assistance and for just being a very resilient community. And with that, that's the end of my presentation, and I'll turn it back over to you, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Next, we'd like to have Ms. Bree Lentz, who's the Disability Integration Officer at the New Orleans Health Department, speak. And also on the call today is Mr. Andy Melendez-Salgado. He's the Manager of Public Health Emergencies and the Environmental Health Unit Leader at the New Orleans Health Department as well. They're going to go over briefly a new service called Smart 911.
Thanks, Craig. So as y'all can hear, I'm a little sick, so I'm not going to talk too much. I'm primarily just going to show a video about Smart 911. But Smart 911 is our new sort of data collection system, a way that we can get information on people in the community so that we can better serve them and assist them. It's kind of a new shift from the old special needs registry. So it's going to be more inclusive. It's not only designated for people who may have those functional or access needs. It's going to be anyone and everyone. I feel like a lot of people may not realize that they're vulnerable in disasters. You know, people who have children, people who are pregnant, things like that, things that wouldn't have registered for the special needs registry because they don't even register those as special needs. So the new Smart 911 system is going to be more inclusive. And I do have a video that we're going to show just so that y'all don't have to listen to this little voice going on right here. If we could go ahead and get that video set up. Maybe.
Give us 1 second.
Okay. Andy, do you have anything you want to mention about Smart 911?
No, you hit the spot. I would encourage anybody and everybody who is listening to register. It's not just for somebody who may have a potential access or functional need. It does provide a way for the city to be able to access anybody who may have an emergency. It provides information to police, fire, EMS as needed. So it's a collective way to have centralized information on you as a resident of the city that can facilitate being able to support you in an emergency.
Yeah, and with that as well, you can give as much or as little information as you'd like. It does go through 911. So this will probably be mentioned in or not probably, it will be mentioned in the video. But one instance is if you call 911 and you're in anaphylactic shock, if you have in your system that you are allergic to bee stings, that would help 911 in realizing like, oh, maybe that's why they're not answering. Maybe maybe they got stung by a bee and that's a reason. And with that, there's also, like I said, you can offer as little or as much information, medical information as you'd like. It's also a way to help. It really helps us with our kind of family networks and support networks, because you can say I have, my mom who's in assisted living facility. I can register her under my account so that I can assist her in creating her profile. Maybe she's not as technologically savvy. I can help her register her own profile that would still be attached to her phone number and would give 911 her address and things like that, but it would be under my account. So I would also get information based on anything that could impact her.
The other thing, sorry to cut you off, Brie, but what I find valuable about also the system also is the fact that you can set it up to provide information to you either by a phone call, a text, or an email, or all of the above, and you can actually put in several phone numbers or email addresses. It's also you can also say what language you are most comfortable in receiving information in, so that you will receive information in your preferred language. So it really provides a way to be able to access emergency information in formats that are more accessible and hopefully comfortable to you. And the video looks like it's ready.
Yeah, and just real quick before the video starts, I would like to point out, we don't have ASL interpretation on the video yet. That is one of the projects that we're currently working on, is to get an interpreter box kind of in the corner, just so that it is more accessible. We are currently working with some of our community partners to get that set up right now, but not yet. And I think we're ready for the video.
Okay.
Thank you for visiting smart911.com. By signing up, you can provide public safety and emergency management officials with the information they need to help you when you need it most. Smart 911 allows you to create a secure safety profile with information about each member of your family, including pets. Therefore, you will only need one profile per household. To get started, visit www.smart911.com, or you can sign up using the Smart 911 app by searching Google Play or Apple App Store for Smart 911. Once you reach the home page, click the green sign up button shown here. You will then be prompted to create a username and password and enter basic information to create an account. If someone is helping you create this profile on your behalf, then they should indicate this under the Receiving Assistance area of the screen. This allows them also to indicate if they should receive reminders to help you keep your profile up to date in the future. While email addresses are optional, we do encourage you sign up with your email address when you have one available. This is the best way for us to contact you periodically throughout the year to remind you to keep your profile up to date. If you do not provide an email address, we strongly suggest you opt in to receive profile update reminders to your phone. Profiles should be kept up to date with any changes to your health, household, or contact information. Also, to ensure the details you enter are up to date when you make an emergency call, you must log into your account and verify information at least once every 6 months. You'll notice at the bottom of the form that you are prompted to enter an optional group code. If you've been provided a group code by a community group or nonprofit organization, enter it here. Otherwise, just leave the section blank. Once you have completed each required field, click Create Account. The first step to building your safety profile is to enter a home address. Once you have completed this step, click Continue. The following steps are to confirm your address. Take a moment to ensure that the address you entered is displayed properly on the map. If the address looks inaccurate, you can click and drag the red marker to the appropriate location. Once you've completed the step, click Confirm this address. Now, in order for 911 to access your information when you make an emergency call, you must confirm your phone. To confirm, you have the option to receive an automated text message or an automated phone call. If the timing to confirm is inconvenient, you may also schedule a call later. Now that your address and your phone are confirmed, you are directed to your Smart 911 profile dashboard. And from here, you can begin entering all the information you want 911 to have in the event of an emergency. Information about each household member, addresses, additional phone numbers, emergency contacts, vehicles, and pets in the home. For example, if you have a severe allergy and wish to list this in your profile, select Edit Details and Medical Information next to your name. Then scroll down to the Medical Info section and select the Allergies category to select the type of allergy and severity in your case. If you need to enter information about another member of the household, click the Add button in the People Household category. The details you enter can be adjusted at any time by simply logging into your account or updating from your smartphone using the Smart 911 app. Here is an example of what a completed household profile might look like. As you see in Jane's profile, you have the option to include multiple phone numbers in your safety profile. For Jane, she has 3 phone numbers listed. Each of those phone numbers can only be linked to one account. Now, every Smart 911 community offers a different combination of services to their community. You may opt in and manage all services available to you through the Preferences section by clicking on the Alerts tab. There, you will see the available community alerting services in your area and can opt in your various phone numbers and email address to receive targeted communications from local public safety. Now that you've seen how easy it is, make sure that you sign up for Smart 911 today.
Awesome, thank you. So with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. We will be here at the end for anybody that has any questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have some comments from Ms. Shea Goldfine. She is the New Orleans Emergency Medical Services Liaison to NOSEP. Shea, do you have a couple comments?
Yeah, hey, everybody. I just wanted to touch on the Smart 911 first for a second. If anyone has a family member who is bedbound and unable to sit in a wheelchair or move that way. When you're signing up for Smart 911, please remember to hit the bedbound box or the needs ambulance assistance box, so we can make sure that we cover that you or your family member with an ambulance if needed during a disaster. I also wanted to just mention that New Orleans EMS is going to help out during the city assisted evacuation. We will be on site doing triage and treatment for anyone who needs while they're there. During Ida, we realized that people needed more oxygen, especially since there were power outages and a lot of people use concentrators. So please make sure that before a hurricane that you've tried to get as much of your medication and any medical equipment you need to last you at least a little while, and then we will help assist where we can if we are able to get oxygen to provide to the community members. So yeah, it's really important to make sure you have at least like a week's supply of all your medication. If you need Depends, if you need oxygen, anything else, just make sure you got at least a week's supply because that'll really help you in the case of a hurricane. That's pretty much it. I will be here after if anyone's got any questions for EMS. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana. Next, we have a presentation or comments from Lenita McIver. She's a director of multicultural outreach and engagement at the American Association of Retired Persons here in Louisiana, the AARP. Good morning, Lenita.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I appreciated all of the comments we've heard thus far, and I tell you, I'm excited. It sounds like we are really prepared to serve you. Although we can't control disasters, we can, to some extent, control the way they affect us. And so today, I want to stress the importance of why should you plan? There are several reasons why you should, and the number one reason you should is that it could save your life. So if you have a reality check and you think that whatever disaster that we're confronted with, we stand a chance of losing our life, our home, and everything we own. And many of us experienced that during Hurricane Katrina. Second, disasters can be very traumatic. Having a plan helps reduce anxiety and the stress of going through it, because you can walk yourself forward and you can walk yourself backwards if you plan. Another important reason and that we should have a plan and have a support network in place. Knowing whom you can count on can bring you a peace of mind. You've heard from so many resources today with what they offer, but you must know who's in place to help you. You must know what the fire department is doing, what the police department is doing, what RTA is doing, what your family members are doing, what those in your building are doing. All of that is supposed to be part of your plan. So your support network in place is very important. Another reason to plan, you'll have more control. You'll have more control of the outcome. You'll have more control during your pre-evacuation, during the evacuation, and after the evacuation, if it's all planned. And then your expectations will be more realistic in putting your life back together. Knowing that when you're evacuating, your plan is a continuum. You have to think about money, you have to think about medicine, medical supplies, important papers, contact information, listing your friends and loved ones, making sure you're knowledgeable about your medical insurance, your home insurance, your auto insurance. And don't forget this, when you do evacuate, Organize your travel bags so you can identify them. Not only identify them, manage them, handle them, especially keeping the bag close that has your most important items in it. As you prepare to create a plan, you should not try to do it alone. Be sure to talk with others and engage them in the process. Engage your family, your friends, your neighbors, and your service providers. With family members, it's important to agree on one person who lives outside of the disaster area who everyone would check in with, including yourself. As was mentioned earlier, that when you evacuate, it may not be known at the moment where you're going, but once you find out, be sure to contact that one family member who can share that information with everyone else. If thinking about disaster planning makes you anxious, consider how much less stress you'll have once you plan. So this is the hard part, the planning part. Use the information you heard today to create a plan that will allow you to be safe and that will help make you whole afterwards. Here's how AARP can help. Brianna mentioned earlier and Colin mentioned earlier about Smart 911. We have volunteers who are assisting the city in helping individuals download the app or even sign them up for Smart 911. Right now, we're working with the New Orleans Council on Aging, presenting at their 14 senior centers. We're also working with Providence Community Housing and Christopher Homes. So we're making our way through the city to assist you with signing up to the Smart 911 system. In addition, our website, www.aarp.org, has disaster preparedness information. You can print checklists and also other resources. Our Community Resource Center is still closed, but we plan to open soon. And we will send out an announcement. And once the Community Resource Center open to the public, you can visit our office at 3502 South Carrollton Avenue. And our volunteers in our office will assist you with signing up for Smart 911 and directing you to other resources. Again, it's been an honor to be here with you today and plan smart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. MacGyver. Appreciate that. Next, we have Ms. Felice Hill. She's the Associate Director of Marketing, Outreach, and Growth at United Healthcare Community and State. Good morning, Felice. I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I am excited and honored to be here and partner with RTA and the city and all of the presenters here today, as well as our community at large. I want to just kind of talk to you all about preparing for evacuation. We know, as Mr. Collins said earlier, evacuation is the best scenario. And so if you evacuate, you know you have to plan. And part of the planning is making sure you have all of your insurance forms together, your member identifications. You're able to contact member services on the back of your card to get any information related to your healthcare and your healthcare needs. I want to stress that it's very important for you to have a plan, and part of that plan should be making sure you have all your documents in a safe place that you can evacuate with if you do evacuate. Another important piece is working with your pharmacy, contacting your pharmacy, asking them for a list of all of your current medications so that you could take them with you. Also having at least 7 to 10 days supply of your medication when you evacuate. If you are a parent, make sure you're keeping extra supplies on hand for your baby. We know there's currently a shortage with formula. So making sure you have access to all that. If you're pregnant or disabled or elderly, make sure you're communicating with your providers in drafting a plan for your evacuation. If you're a United Healthcare Medicaid member or any insurance member, you have the ability to contact member services and ask for case management assistance. That case manager can assist you in coordinating, creating your evacuation plan, but also accessing all of your needed information, making sure you are able to access oxygen through any of the durable medical equipment providers, making sure you can access your medical records. It is a good idea also to download your insurance app where you have access to your member portal. That way you can get the information that you need. Keeping your IDs and your safety kits and your list of all of your important documents, all your medication will be essential for you as you evacuate. If you have any questions whatsoever, you are able again to contact your insurance provider. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. O. Appreciate it. Lastly, we'd like to play you a special message from New Orleans' very own actor and film producer, Mr. Wendell Pierce.
Hi, my name is Wendell Pierce. This is my father, Amos Pierce Jr., 97 years old. And even at his age, we still love to travel the world. And especially during hurricane season, we have to be prepared to move when the time calls for it. So please get prepared. Make sure that someone who is immobile, like my father, and who is elderly, has the ability to get out when the hurricane is coming in. And the RTA has a plan for you and has facilities and resources for you to make sure that happens. And when you go away, just for a few days, you take it like a vacation. Sit back, relax, enjoy an adult beverage, stay together as family, and stay safe during this hurricane season.
All right, well, at this point, we'd like to take any questions you might have. So open the floor to questions, please. I think we had one question about getting a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. We'll make sure it's available and we'll send it out to everybody so they can get this information, access this information. Okay, no, if there are no questions, then Mr. Wiggins, would you like to close? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted, one thing I wanted to hit on is, and what you saw from a lot of the presentations today is staying connected. We think Smart 911 is the next, is the next generation of how we can do that. It's not just for hurricane seasons. It's for it's really geographically. We know where you are and what type of assistance you need, and that is linked to the 911 system, which is, I think, a new paradigm that we're trying to establish. So staying connected, a lot of different ways. You have your resources with RTA, the ride line, and the assistance that they can offer. You have 311, and I am focusing on phone lines, but if you are connected, and many people are now, which is great, you can follow us at NOLA Ready on all social media platforms. You can visit our website at ready.nola.gov. There's a lot of information there. A lot of the information we've covered today, a lot of the preparation tips and things that you can do are at ready.nola.gov. You can request a training. If you would like to have our office come to your neighborhood group, your church group, your business, anywhere, we offer different types of trainings on active shooter awareness, on stop the bleed and tourniquet training, hands-only CPR. We offer hurricane preparedness presentations, which we're really excited to get back into doing face-to-face. The last 2 years, we've been doing a lot of these types of engagements, which is great. I mean, we have over 76 participants online right now, which typically when we have this in person, we might have 50. So, I mean, we are getting the word out there, but we also know that with hurricane preparedness, a big part of this is that face-to-face. So, we definitely want to encourage people to sign up for those trainings. And the last thing I'll say is, if you do have that device, please text NOLA Ready, one word, NOLA Ready, to 77295. Takes a couple of seconds, doesn't cost anything. You will automatically receive text messages from us about all of these different types of, whenever we have these types of incidents. When we put out where a cooling center is going to be, when we put out, if potentially we have to evacuate, a lot of that is going to come through those alerts. So you can sign up by texting NOLA Ready, NOLA-READY, one word, to 77295. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. We had a couple questions. One was, do you have to download the Smart 911 app, or can you register online? And I think we answered it. You don't have to register. You don't have to use the app. You can actually register online separately from the app. And then another question is, this is being recorded. Is this going to be available to watch later? Yes, we'll make this and the PowerPoints available for you to download to review after this session. There's no other questions. Mr. Wiggins, would you like to close this out, sir?
Hey, sure. Thank you so much, Craig. Again, thank you for your incredible work and preparation. Really want to thank our communications, marketing, and community outreach team for helping to bring this together. All of our partners, Colin at the city, our partnership with you is just invaluable. Our stakeholders at United Healthcare, AARP, the Department of Health. I hope I'm not, and of course, WDSU. Thank you for participating. And of course, one of my favorite actors in the world, Mr. Wendell Pierce, thank you so much for your message of preparation. So we here at the RTA, and in partnership with the city of New Orleans, we are going to be prepared. We're going to be ready for whatever Mother Nature throws our way. But most importantly, the message I heard today over and over is make sure you are prepared individually, and then we'll be there to support as soon as we can. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, this concludes our event. Thank you so much.